Hey, welcome into the Stinkin Truth Podcast. Mark Schlereth alongside Mike Evans. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day. Make sure you subscribe, follow us, and shoot out those questions. I'd love to answer your questions here on the just the questions and answers or whatever that is. However you do that.
Question mark.
Yeah, question mark. But I answer them all on the podcast. Mike, how are you?
Good. Well, hey, sorry, Bills. Your season's going to end in heartbreak again because you went and beat the Chiefs again in the regular season.
Yeah,
we all know how that script's going to...
When are you guys going to learn?
When are you going to learn? Lose.
You got to
lose in the regular season.
Lose in the regular season so you can win in the postseason. Right. Boy, you know what? I tell you, I love balance. And I know, and I saw this the other day, man. I saw some podcast or some, self-prescribed guru of all things football. One of these talking heads talking about, hey, Mike Tomlin, the game has passed him by. All that bullshit, man. A guy that's in the game every day, 15, 16, 18 hours a day, in it every day. He doesn't know what's going on. He's not seeing it. And it was so interesting to me because we get into this, the new NFL and this, that, and the other. Go look at what Buffalo did. Go look at James Cook having 27 carries, 114 yards. Go look at your superstar quarterback who had, 25 pass attempts? Go look at it. You know what wins? Punching somebody in the freaking mouth. That's what wins. It's like the old Mike Tyson thing, right? Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face or in the mouth or whatever it was. And when you control a game from a physicality standpoint, you know what you do? You win. That's what you do. When you dominate both lines of scrimmage, this is what I love about football that will never change. No matter how many times we think, we got to pass it 65% of the time, and, we need wide receivers, and we need this. You show me a team that physically dominates a game, I'll show you a team that comes out on top almost 100% of the time. Now, there's an anomaly every now and again. Turnovers happen, things of that nature. But the bottom line is the Buffalo Bills whooped that ass. It's the first running back that's gone over 100 yards on the Chiefs in God knows how long. And this is something to me that is what you have to be able to do to win in this league. And the Bills did it against the Chiefs.
Well, the Chiefs have been...
No,
hold on a second. The Chiefs have been the model for a long time, and that's a team that you've said many times before, Andy Reid just looks for the first excuse he can to say, can't run the ball today.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah. So...
There's other ways to do it.
Yeah, you find yourself a unicorn at quarterback because there's 32 of those, right? No, there's one. There's one of those. So, I mean, that's you could do the other way to overcome that. Now, I will give the Chiefs credit. They've been very physical on the defensive side of the ball for quite some time now. Over the last 4 or 5 years, they've been really good defensively and really good at making plays in critical moments. But, the other way you can do that, Mike, is you can find yourself a unicorn to play quarterback for you. And then you don't have to win that way.
It also helped that Buffalo was playing with the lead for most of the game as well.
Sure.
It's a lot easier to stay with the running game at home when you're playing with the lead.
I would argue that even when you get behind, getting behind is an excuse for play callers not to run.
Correct.
Because you know what they want to do? They want to wow you with their ability to select and design plays that bring success, that bring big plays. That's how they get head coaching jobs. They want to wow you with that stuff. And I was calling a game several weeks ago between Carolina and between the Miami Dolphins. And it's the second quarter and Miami scores to make it 17-0. and there's probably about 10 minutes left in the second quarter. Carolina gets the ball back. And my opening statement on that drive was the Carolina Panthers are not good enough to throw themselves back into this game. Just because you're down 17 doesn't mean you scrap pile the run. The only thing you do well is run the football. So you need to lean into that. Lean into the running game. I mean, dive into that and then find out what that adjunct play action is, what connects you to that play action, and you have to live there. And you know what they did? They came out, and that was the emergence of Rico Dowdle. Rico Suave. And, man, he started ripping off runs. He started running with violence. He started putting his bean on people. Then you know what people get excited about? They get excited about being physical. All of a sudden, the offensive line is starting to give people the business. Tight ends are going, oh, wait, let me be involved. Tommy Tremble went from being just a speed guy, to all of a sudden smash-mouthing people. And, they come back and they win that game. And those are the things that you have to be able to do as a play caller. You have to be able to celebrate the 2-yard nasty runs because they benefit you. They benefit you in play action, but they also take the starch out of a defense.
So does the narrative change for either team after this regular season game? Does it, if you're a Bills fan, can you really enjoy this win? Or is it almost like, all right, great, but this is what we always do. We beat them in the regular season. Yeah, until we beat them in the playoffs, can we really enjoy a win like this?
I think it's a little bit different because the Bills been scuffling here of late, right? They haven't played great defense. They really haven't. And all of a sudden, they held Patrick Mahomes to about, I think it's like 44% completion percentage.
15 of 34, 250 yards, no touchdowns, 1 pick.
Right. And so they held him down. And so defensively, all of a sudden, you figure, hey, listen, when you have injuries and stuff, you got to figure out, hey, what's our best 11 right now? What's our best personnel grouping? Can we match your nickel? Can we match your base or whatever? Can we match your base with our big nickel? Does that give us the best chance? What do we do well? And how can we really lean into that and make that our philosophy?
And for the Chiefs, does this change anything? Because a week ago, we're talking about the Chiefs like they're back, they're scary. Don't pay any attention to the record. This is probably the best team once again in the AFC. Does this performance put screeching halt to all that talk?
I don't think it puts a screeching halt to it. I this has been Sunday was really strange, man. It's a really strange Sunday. Maybe, blame it on Halloween. Blame it on pumpkins and pumpkin patches and hay rides.
Goblins.
Wizards. Witches. Blame it on all that stuff.
Yeah.
Hogwarts.
Like, how'd the Packers lose to the Panthers?
Right. I mean, how did Minnesota and Johnny Eyeblack beat Detroit?
Right.
Like, how does that happen?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Like you always tell me winning in the NFL is hard.
Yes, it is hard.
I do think that once you've kind of established yourself, once you have the quarterback, once you've established yourself as a winning team, I don't think going out and having 10-win seasons is that hard.
It's still hard.
It's 10-7, Mark. Come on.
It's still hard.
But here's what I will say. If you can rip off a legitimate winning streak in today's NFL, like you got the Broncos winning 6 in a row, the Patriots have won 6 in a row, that to me is legit because you've shown an ability to avoid those where did that come from this week pitfall,
Yeah.
Like you're able to go out week after week and avoid one of those games that just reaches up and grabs you.
Yeah.
That leaves all of us as football fans going, where the hell did that come from?
Right. But there are always those weeks, and I never know when they're going to come, Mike. There's always that week. It's like Bizarro weekend. Like Indianapolis, the Colts, who have been so good, go into Pittsburgh and just get beat.
Yeah.
And turn the ball over. They turned the ball over 6 times in that game. So there are those weekends that just for whatever reason, it's something in the air. It's a full moon. It's goblins. It's it's something. And last weekend it was kind of that weekend. Listen. The Chiefs at the end are still going to be there. They're still going to be formidable. Maybe they don't win the division. Maybe this is the year they don't win the division. Maybe the Broncos take the division. But they are still formidable. They have still won a lot of championships. They are still very scary.
So when it comes to the Broncos, they're 7-2. They've won 6 in a row. This fourth quarter magic is something to behold. I mean, they're doing historic things when it comes to the fourth quarter. But the way that they get there, basically playing 3 bad quarters of offensive football and then pulling it out in the fourth. It's impressive that Bo Nix has that clutch gene, it seems like. That's awesome. But the way that they're doing this, is this sustainable if you're trying to be a team that, wins the division, ends Kansas City's reign, and maybe goes on a deep playoff run of your own?
Well, here's my biggest concern with the Denver Broncos is they had a historic defense last year, right up until the last quarter of the season. And then they started leaking oil a little bit. And why? Because it takes a lot more energy to play defense than it does offense. Just does. I mean, I block somebody on offense and our running back cuts out and, starts running off for 15 yards. You know what I do? I just watch. Look at that guy go. You know what you had to do on defense? You got to run and try to make a play.
Yeah. Run to the whistle.
Right. I cut you on the backside of a play.
Yeah.
I just lay on my big fat belly like this. Watch the play. Then I get myself up and I go, huddle, huddle. And meanwhile, you got to get off the ground and you got to chase the play. And it just takes a lot more energy and a lot more effort. And so my fear would be this defense that's been exceptional the battle of attrition starts to wear the defense down a little bit. And then all of a sudden, it's not so good. You don't have, all of a sudden you don't have, a fourth quarter, a deficit that you can look at and go, oh yeah, we can reel that back in. We can reel it back in. So, that would be my big worry about this. Because to reel in a lead, you know what your defense needs to do in the fourth quarter? Get you the ball back.
Yeah,
it's got to get you possessions, right? So you look at the Broncos coming back from a 17-point deficit against the Eagles, right? Yep. Was it 17?
14.
14 against the Eagles. Whatever it was against the Giants, for crying out loud. Right. It was ridiculous. 33 points they scored in the fourth quarter. But you know what that means? Defense got to get the Stranad interception. It's got to stop you on turn you over on down, whatever it is. So they got to get you possessions so that you can have that opportunity to score. And if they're worn out at the end of the season, they're not going to get you possessions. And so that would be my big concern for them. So they've got to play better to start games out. They've got to be more consistent on the offensive side of the ball.
So when you look at teams like, all right, so both the Packers and the Lions both kind of lose games that had you going, didn't see that one coming, right? So how do you walk that line between, hey, that's the NFL, it can happen to the best of them any given week, versus, okay, that's concerning right there. That's a red flag moving forward that they lost this game. So maybe for each team,
I just
where would you put? It's like for me, I would look at it and go, if I'm Green Bay, I'm like, ooh, that might be symptomatic of something a little deeper, than necessarily with Detroit.
Yes, I would agree with that. I think that the Kraft injury, and I don't know what that is exactly yet.
Like ACL.
It sounds like an ACL, and he was. I don't know if the news has come out yet. I think he's having the MRI today, but that would be huge. That would be a gigantic loss for the Green Bay Packers offense if they lose Kraft. So, and if that's out already, I haven't seen it, so I would apologize. But You can look that up. But, yeah, the Kraft injury, that scares me for the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, it came out earlier this hour.
Oh, it did?
Yeah, it did in fact tear his ACL as feared.
Nah, that sucks. I mean, that sucks for them, and it sucks for him. So Kraft is official. He is out for the rest of the year, and he's been so dynamic at the tight end position. But that they scare me a little bit. They're like, there's the difference between the outlier game where you're like, how did that happen? And then the team that just occasionally has several of those games. I mean, they had one at Cleveland. They've had several of them. So the inconsistency of the Green Bay Packers on a consistent basis, that scares me. That really scares me. So, and then you lose Kraft. That's just a huge loss. So one week they look like the best team in the NFL. The next week they lose to the Cleveland Browns and the Carolina Panthers. And maybe I better put some more respect on the Carolina Panthers because they're sitting at 5-4 right now.
Hey, you got them this week.
Yes, I do.
They're 5-4. They're hosting the Saints.
Yeah.
I mean, they win that game. They're in the wild card hunt. You can talk playoffs in Carolina with a straight face.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can. And it was so interesting. I called them a couple of weeks ago, and it's right after Rico Dowdle goes 200 yards and 200 yards, 200 yards total offense 2 weeks in a row, and Chuba Hubbard comes back from injury. And I mean, I've been talking to Dave Canales. I go in and I meet with Dave Canales and talks about how the violence of Rico Dowdle, the way he runs, has been infectious, how it's changed their offense, how great they've been, and then says, yeah, but we're going to start Chuba Hubbard. And I was like, you're going to do what? And I said it on the broadcast. I'd be like, if I played for the Carolina Panthers, I'd be pissed. And not that I don't like Chuba Hubbard. I do. Chuba Hubbard's great. But Rico Dowdle has ignited our offense. He's ignited it. And you watch, when you're really, really good, is not only when you're good. This is how I know when you are an elite level player. It's not only you are good and you do things well, but you bring everybody with you. Like, everybody steps up their game. And then you watch him run the ball, and you watch how much better the receivers are at blocking, how much better the tight ends are at blocking, because he's not only igniting you to go, man, let me go, this is fun, let me go get in this, but he's also understanding, hey, man, I've got a wide receiver down here that's going to go push crack. His responsibility is safety. I'm going to set that safety up, maybe slow play it as I get through, let him get his block, and then I'm going to bust it out. And then everybody in the meetings goes, oh, my gosh, look at Teteroa McMillan just got a huge block on the edge that sprung him for another 22 yards or whatever. And it gets brewing.
It's almost like a good form of peer pressure, too. It's like, if this guy's playing his ass off, who am I to not try to go out and give, at least close to a similar effort?
I was a Pro Bowl player when I came to Denver from Washington. I played in Pro Bowls, had won a Super Bowl. I line up next to Gary Zimmerman, all decade in the 80s, all decade in the 90s, in practice. And I watched my first practice lined up next to Gary, and I was like, shit, I gotta start moving faster.
Yeah.
Like, I was just like, he played it a little bit practice level wise. He was practicing at a better pace than I was practicing. And I was legitimately embarrassed. I was watching on. Nobody said anything. I could just see it. Now, my knees weren't great, and I didn't move at that point in my career at year 6 or 7 or 7. I was not moving as well as I did at year 2 or 3. And Gary had no leg issues. Gary's issues were shoulders. But let me just tell you, man, that dude's pace was like, shit, I got to pick my stuff up.
So let me give you a chance to re-handicap the NFC North. You got Detroit at 5-2-1. Green Bay 5-2-1, Detroit 5-3, Chicago 5-3, and Minnesota at 4-4.
Yeah. So you want me
when it's all said and done,
I still think
if you had to handicap the division 1 through 4 moving forward, what would it be?
The best team in this division is the Detroit Lions. Okay. Even though the record says they're not the best team in the division, they are. Then I'm going to say it's the Green Bay Packers, even though the inconsistency bothers me some. Then after that, I'm going to go the Chicago. I'll go Chicago Bears. And then Minnesota Vikings coming in fourth. And listen, J.J. McCarthy, you're like, oh, he had a breakout game. He completed 14 balls. So before we knight Sir Eye Black, I now knight you, Sir Eye Black. Before we put him on the pedestal, I'd like to see it.
Don't worry about the Eye Black. Him, Jackson Dart, they'll grow up here eventually. If they're still doing it when they're 30, we'll have a story.
Dude, what happens if you go to itch your eye and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I can't see. Like, right? It's just too much.
Too much?
It's too much.
Too much?
It's too much.
What about as we go through some of these games? You mentioned the Colts.
Yeah.
Turning it over. The Steelers. I mean, is this proof that when it comes to Pittsburgh, that they just remain maybe the hardest team in the NFL to figure out? Who are they? I mean, are they legit? Are they not legit? Just when you think, oh, they're kind of fraudulent with the record they have, they go out and they handle Daniel Jones, turn him over a bunch of times, win like they do, and makes you think, oh, maybe they are the best team in the AFC North. I mean, do you have any handle on them? Because I think a lot of people don't.
I still think Baltimore's going to reel them in.
Yeah.
You turn the turnovers were 6-1. I mean, you put it together, I think 14, 15 plays in your first drive, and you come away with 0 points. And then Daniel Jones throws a couple of picks. There was just a couple that it was great defense, but he had an early pick where Wilson, their linebacker, is in man-to-man and just kind of stops because it looked like Jonathan Taylor, not Jason, but Jonathan stopped kind of the chip block on his way out, and so the linebacker kind of stopped, and he was supposed to. Daniel Jones read it. He's in man coverage, so he starts taking off to follow Jonathan Taylor. And when Jonathan Taylor kind of stopped the chip, he stopped, and then it was like, oh shoot, there's the ball right there, And if you would have gotten out on that swing, he'd have been beyond that receiver. So it's probably completion. Like things like that are just smart, really smart stuff by the Steelers. So, you win the turnover battle by 5, and you beat the Indianapolis Colts. What was the score? 27-20?
27-20.
Like, you're living
dangerous.
You're living dangerously.
Yeah.
So,
well, it seems like every week we look at MVPs and MVP talk, and for the last few weeks it's been Baker Mayfield, understandably so. Drake May's entered the conversation. Do we have to start talking about Sam Darnold? That performance he put on last night against Washington.
4 touchdowns in the first half.
He had a perfect half. He was like 16 of 16.
Yeah.
He had a perfect quarterback rating. He played a perfect first half. He finished 21 of 24 for 330 yards and 4 touchdowns. I mean, for a Seattle team that, suddenly is 6-2.
Yeah.
I mean, how about Sam Darnold as MVP?
Absolutely. And remember, they traded away Metcalf. They've turned this roster over. I will give you want to talk about not only him being the MVP, how about executive of the year? How about John Schneider being the executive of the year? I mean, it was Geno Smith wanted a new deal. Schneider didn't want to give him the deal he wanted, and moved on from him. Moved on from DK Metcalf to get a trade. Got a trade of DK Metcalf. Moved on from brought in, fired their offensive coordinator, brought in a different offensive coordinator in Clint Kubiak. That was with Michael McDonald, their head coach. But, made all those changes and said, no, man, we got to revamp this roster. And they're sitting at 6-2 right now with you're right, MVP candidate at the quarterback position.
And doing it and pulling off really one of the hardest things to do in sports, and that is kind of retool, revamp, rebuild on the fly without ever really hitting rock bottom.
Yeah.
They've gone from the Pete Russ Legion of Boom days to, they were still competitive, with Geno and stuff. And now here they are. They look like they're on the cusp of becoming a great team again, which is pretty remarkable.
It really is when you think about the
different
other
coaches, different quarterbacks. The one constant there is Schneider.
Pete Carroll was an institution.
Yeah.
It's hard to make that decision if you're the GM saying, hey, I'm moving on from Pete Carroll. Going to go get somebody else, and you get Michael McDonald. And then the first year they've got some collegiate offensive coordinator. They realize that's not the way to go. How are we going to get this done? Pretty amazing what they've been able to accomplish. And you're right, Sam Darnold has been exceptional. And Smith and Jigba has been unbelievable. They got it going on in Seattle right now, man. They have really elevated themselves to one of the better teams in the NFC.
We'll talk about them later in the week, but good job. Patriots continue to roll. Chargers, another big injury, though, for the Chargers with Joe Alt. We'll see what happens there. 49ers get a win. So a lot of good stories. Rams making it look easy. So we'll see what happens. But, so big weekend of football. Like you said, Halloween weekend, I don't know what it was, but just a reminder that there's just something about the NFL and the week-to-week nature, the any given Sunday, that just when you think you've got this NFL figured out, just when you think it's going to zig, it zags.
Yeah.
And, boy, we got more examples of that yesterday, didn't we?
It was.
It makes it great.
Yeah, it was.
You never know.
It was quite the day. It was quite the day. Hey, listen, for everybody involved in the Stinkin' Truth podcast, we thank you so much for being a part of the Stinkin' Truth podcast. Please subscribe. I'm going to come back with a leftovers podcast that's going to drop a little bit later in the week. So make sure you check that out. I did Jacksonville at the Raiders, and it was a phenomenal game, overtime game. Last play of the game was won on the last play of the game. So we'll talk about that, what I talked to about with the coaches and some of the players as well. So thank you so much for making us a part of your day. For Mike, I am Mark. We'll be back with you guys later in the week.